Welcome to the Global Reading Club podcast. My name is Twan Weerts. I'm a strategist at Ogilvy, Amsterdam. And in today's episode, we're joined by Antonis Kocheilas, Ogilvy's Global Chief Transformation Officer. Antonis is a prominent advocate for AI, having given talks at various industry events and recently featured in Forbes for his article AI and the Dawn of the Inspiration Economy. Today, we'll be discussing the book The Coming Wave, which explores the upcoming AI revolution. We'll talk about how we can tame, not contain AI, what the marketeer of the future will look like, and why AI is moving us from the information economy to an inspiration economy. Without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome, Antonis. Great to have you on the podcast again.
Thank you, Tuan. Good to be with you.
Yeah, since we had you last time, you've been promoted to Global Chief Transformation Officer at Ogilvy. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Today, we're going to be talking about the book The Coming Wave, a book about AI. And I think as the Chief Transformation Officer, you've been leading our intelligence front, if I may call it, on AI. What's so special about this book?
Let me start with a small short story. You know what they say? They say, don't judge a book by its cover. Actually, I do that. I do that a lot. The Coming Wave, I bought The Coming Wave before I learned much about Mustafa Suleyman, the author, and how important is in the development of artificial intelligence in general and generative AI in particularly, because I empathize with the title. My involvement with AI started in Cannes last year, and I was hit by a tsunami, by a coming wave.
Okay.
So I was sitting in the Croisette, minding my own business and taking care of Ogilvy's creativity, and suddenly one of our biggest clients called me, wanted to see me, and he wanted to talk about AI. And I didn't know anything. So it was the coming wave hitting me.
For you.
I start like swimming in the wave, and I was trying to, keep my head above the wave by start learning things. That created a year after and created an amazing journey that led me develop one of the first AI agents for marketing, for brands, together with WPP's AI experts in Satalia, and do an executive education diploma in MIT about AI and learn a lot of things. So that's why I fall in love with The Coming Wave. What is interesting about this book is the only book that it has a balanced view about the pros and cons of AI. And that's why I recommend the book. I recommend the book because the book can give you a holistic point of view about what is the phenomenon that AI is, how it will impact our lives, and what we can do in order to tame, not contain, but tame AI and make AI work for the benefit of humanity. So that's my little story about the book.
And you said tame, not contain, and the author introduces the containment problem. I'm curious why you've paraphrased him to tame and not contain. What's the reason behind that phrasing?
That's a good question. Mustafa Suleyman talks about the containment problem. And the problem is that a technology of such scale cannot be contained. Even if we try, we cannot contain the technology. What we can do about the technology is tame it to serve our needs instead of being blown out of proportion and take shapes and forms that work against us. We need to learn from the past. Look what happened with social media. Social media started as a technology that, of course, we couldn't contain it. Even in the cases that we try, and we didn't try much, but more importantly, we failed to tame it. We fail to use social media for their many benefits that they have, and we allow social media to drive our culture to the brinks of complete polarization.
Yeah.
So let's not repeat the same mistakes. This is how I received Mustafa Suleyman's message. Let's not repeat the same mistakes. Let's work in advance, both the private sector and the public sector. Let's combine our forces and our knowledge in order to make AI a positive force for humanity.
And what's different in your opinion, and maybe also in the author's opinion, about AI as a technology compared to previous technologies in the past, from the discovery of fire to the combustion engine? I remember reading that the challenge of technology used to be unleashing its power, and now it's about containing its unleashed power, making sure that it still serves us. Is AI in that way different from previous technologies?
Yes and no, meaning AI has many aspects of previous technologies in terms of the speed of diffusion, which is exponentially faster than the past, but again, it will follow a curve and everything. What is different about AI is that AI is a dealer of potential.
Mhm.
You know the famous phrase, a dealer of hope.
Yeah.
Is a dealer of potential. AI can lead to infinite potentialities, which we don't know yet. So you start embracing using a technology that you cannot realize its full potential, and its full potential is not linear. To give you an example, combustion engine, a great technology,
Mhm.
but its outcome can be described with a linear progression of making better combustion engines. Smaller, more efficient, more productive, etc., etc. With AI, we cannot project in a linear form what this technology will do. Right now, we know certain use cases of AI. We can foresee in the future different ones, but nobody can tell with specificity what it will be the use of AI in 20 years from
Yeah.
now. And somebody may argue with me and say, but also in other technologies, we didn't knew that. I think in other technologies, I don't know, you are far younger than me, but I grew up with the books of Julius Verne.
Okay.
And Julius Verne was able to foresee many of the technologies that we enjoy right now. He was the
Mm.
first talking about Nautilus, a submarine with able to do transatlantic trips, was able to talk about us reaching the moon and things like that. I don't believe that there is a Julius Verne of today who can write the future of AI with the specificity that Julius Verne did it.
It's difficult to grasp, right? What can we grasp within this entire, yeah, new world of possibilities?
In order to, again, playing with words, in order to tame it
Hmm.
and use it on our advantage, we need first to understand it. We need first to understand exactly, not exactly, but broadly, what is, how LLMs act, understand the ability, why AI is generative, is not necessarily creative.
Yeah.
There is a difference on that. How AI can potentially become creative. What are the limitations of a generative technology? The word implies that when it's something generative, it gives birth from something that already exists.
Hmm.
So how AI probabilistically calculates the most probable outcome of a question that we are asking by combining the knowledge that already exists in the World Wide Web. How we can tune and rag models, LLMs, to acquire context, and in what degree that it's possible and what degree this is not possible yet. The biggest challenge and potential at the same time is giving to large language models context.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see that the same marketing, let's take marketing, something
Yeah.
that I personally have more right to talk about about technology. I'm not a technology expert. I'm more of a marketing person. So in marketing, many marketing initiatives acquire value because of the context that they are placed. It's the cultural relevance of campaigns. It's the contextual relevance of media. It's everything. So how we can use generative models in giving them the contextual background that it's necessary to produce uh, content, ideas, thoughts that are that have domain specificity and contextual fit. This is the big question. Using the big effort that WPP is doing right now is to empower all of us for the benefit of our clients with an access to generative models and access to AI through Open, WPP's proprietary operating system, that will allow us to use AI with domain or brand marketing specificity. Otherwise, we simply train the World Wide Web with our thoughts and our ideas, and
Yeah.
that's not a good thing.
Can you, just for people who aren't aware of the term domain specificity, briefly explain what it means?
Okay. Um, if somebody heard that and didn't understood it, if you asked me 3 months ago, I wouldn't understood it either. So it's not domain specific. I learned that working with our Satalia experts, the guys were used to tell me again and again, you are a domain expert. And I felt very good about it, but I never asked what domain is. Domain is simply the area in which AI needs to be trained or tuned in order to provide answers relevant to this area. So, in order to train a model to provide answers with relevance to a brand or to marketing in general, you need to contextually to give to the model this domain specificity.
Mm-hmm.
How you do that? There are many techniques that I'm not fully equipped to explain, but broadly, very broadly, an amateur's point of view is the combination of ragging and fine-tuning.
Okay, perfect.
So we train the model to understand. The best way that I've heard somebody describing AI is that AI is like a game of hangman. I don't know if you know the game.
Yeah, Hangman, of course.
Yeah. So we ask the model to fill the blanks. We're giving the model a prompt. The prompt is probably the first letter. And if we are very good at prompting, or if we have used ragging, we may use the final, give to the model the final letter of the word as well.
Mm.
What fine-tuning does is also telling to the model that the word that you are looking comes from a certain domain. So this domain is marketing. Or this domain is the brand X.
Yeah.
Or this domain is audience Y. Therefore, the model answers your question with the necessary specificity in order to help you.
Got it. What I found interesting about this book is how it talks about AI as an object that we don't fully understand yet. And I've heard you say this as well in one of your talks. We need to ask, why are we using AI, not just how?
Mhm. Look, Mustafa Suleyman is not a technologist,
Mhm.
or he didn't start it as a technologist. He started by studying theology and philosophy. I think that gives him the necessary perspective to put AI in the larger context and try to contemplate on its almost evolutionary impact on humanity. what he says, also something that is very interesting, at least to me, is that Mustafa Suleyman, the author, is not a techno-liberal. Is not somebody that believes that we will reach utopia simply by utilizing technologies, and that's enough for humanity to have a future. Mustafa Suleyman brings, as we discussed before, a balanced point of view and tries to understand how our societies can use AI in order to become better. The emphasis here is in the word societies, not individuals.
Mm-hmm.
The projection about the impact to AI in individuals is, I would say, easier than in society. Because, yes, most probably we will reach a point that personalized AI agents, so models will be trained with data. Models will have, to connect the points, domain specificity on us individually. So a model, I will interact with the world through a model who understands Antonis's preferences, Antonis's habits, Antonis's choices in general. And that will create an interface with the rest of the world that will allow me to consume or input things that I like and get things that I care about.
Yep.
So this is where we are going. I don't know how many years this will take, but that's the linear projection about AI's impact. What is very difficult to project is what this means for our societies. How we will be able to interact with each other when we have those powerful interfaces that simply care about ourselves.
Yeah, and I think one of my eye-opening moments of this book was when it talks about how people like to measure the success of AI compared to how well an individual human can perform a task. But what that misses is that it's actually groups of individuals who are the most powerful forces in the world. And then he goes on to talk about Googleization and how it's going to make smaller entities like individuals stronger, but the even bigger ones like the tech companies even more strong than they already are. That dichotomy is also super interesting how he unpacks that in the book.
There is now, if you like, a natural cascade. Like we form societies that are the nucleus of those societies are, somebody will say, families, broader communities, and mostly sovereign states. When individuals or corporations are such a power, what is their relationship with sovereign states? What is their relationship with other communities of people? And how we can stop AI from destroying those relationships or altering those relationships in a way that it's not good for the collective good. So I think what Suleyman did brilliantly is don't providing answers, but setting the questions that we need to ask as we embrace that technology. Those questions apply also in our microcosm.
Yeah.
Our microcosm is marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or mine. I hope that yours is not. So in the microcosm of marketing, how this apply. To give you an example, we had the CEO of OpenAI, Altman, saying that 95% of marketing functions will be replaced by AI.
95.
95,
Wow.
yes. Altman is a brilliant guy. Nobody can doubt that. But he's a brilliant guy about AI. He has never done marketing to save his life.
Domain specificity again.
Yeah. So he speaks from a technology point of view about a domain that I will dare to say that exists in the intersection of art and science. So technology cannot replace it 100%. So, but those are valid, those are good questions. Those challenges are the challenges that we as an industry, as an individuals, practitioners, professionals, we need to be able to discuss.
Hmm. Yeah, I think people tend to look away when it gets a bit grim or dark, or when people talk about negative consequences, right? And I can feel that
Mm.
too in the field of marketing, also my main domain, admittedly.
Mhm.
And I loved your comparison about how advanced technology is, I think you called it indistinguishable from magic, if I'm correct,
It's
right?
not mine. Somebody very famous said that. It's stolen. But yes, if you think about my, I use that quote in an article. Uh, yes, technology is indistinguishable from magic. Right now, like we can generate a concept, an image who represents a concept or a thought with the press of a button.
Hmm.
If you told me that like 10 months ago, I will tell you what are you talking about. No, I need my art director to do that. Like I used recently WPP's Open, which is WPP's proprietary operating system empowered by AI, allows us to connect with different LLMs and utilizing them to get a professional art director's comments and prompts about an idea that I had. Imagine
Yeah.
me, I've typed an idea and I got professional art director's comments about how I can bring to life this visual, and then I use his comments to an image generating with an image generating LLMs
Yeah.
with stable diffusion in order to get back the exact image.
Love it.
This is magic.
Yeah. It is, in that sense, maybe this is what the guy from OpenAI is referring to, right? When he says 95% of marketing jobs will disappear. But at the same time, you'll need the human to speak to the AI person. So in the end, it's probably just going to create more jobs for us.
Mhm. And this is what I in an article that I wrote, I spoke about the death of the perspiration economy.
Mm.
So value being directly associated with effort. That's perspiration economy. And right now, if you think about it in our industry, this is what we are doing. We are directly associating value with effort, man hours. That's what we are selling to clients, or deliverables. And we calculate the value of the deliverables based of the effort that it takes to the agency to produce them.
Hmm.
But we are not monetizing ideas. We are not charging for inspiration. When AI will become the great equalizer of labor, of effort, it will kill effort actually as a economic currency. And in my opinion, and maybe it's too optimistic, but I choose to be optimistic,
Mm.
will create will give economic value to inspiration, and the new currency will be inspiration. I think that the marketeers of the future will be in their jobs for their ability to curate thoughts, not to create assets, to curate ideas, select what is best, choose the context that they are placing ideas. And this is something that we are seeing. We are seeing glimpses of that. Like I think it's Farrell, who is the chief creative officer of
Yeah.
LVMH. The guy doesn't know how to make fashion, doesn't know how to make garments. He simply has amazing sense of taste and style, and he was put in the top job. You see, other qualities will become more important.
Hmm. In that regard, being a marketeer of the future is losing our domain specificity a little bit, right?
All it returns to what our true domain specificity always was: understanding people, understanding culture, and find combinations of the two.
Putting in the effort sometimes also leads us to asking the better questions, right? And I feel with AI, sometimes some people tend to skip the process of the effort by just diving straight into an AI with a certain prompt. How do we avoid spending effort for the goodness of our ideas, essentially?
That's a very good question, and to be in my mind at least, this is the biggest danger right now is the lust of mediocrity, because when an outcome which is 50% right or 60% right becomes so easy, people may stay there. So we will have a period.
You
That's my
foresee?
yes. That's what my crystal ball says. That we will have a period that many of us we will fall in that trap.
Mm.
They will believe that quantity and easiness of creation is a substitute for quality. And they will believe that bombarding the consumer with content easily being created and relevant enough to be 60% correct will become enough to do the job.
Hmm.
Sooner than later, of course, we will simply need to up the benchmark and aim for higher. To give you a personal example, I've told you, we trained this AI agent. The name of those AI agents with domain specificity in areas of marketing, in WPP, we call them brains. So we trained the brain to have specificity for a given brand. The brand was Milka, a chocolate out of Mondalides portfolio.
Yeah.
The trained brain was able to write a TV script for a seasonal commercial during Christmas, which was 80% good, as the majority of scripts that teams of copywriters within Ogilvy, and I don't want to insult any of my creative friends, were able to write. Not everybody, even our best copywriters are able to write.
Okay.
Look, what is the problem? If somebody takes that and say, okay, let's replace the copywriters because now we have something that it's 85% there with the press of the button, so therefore I can have a more efficient marketing that it's not cheaper, not efficient, a more cheaper marketing that is not, it's not as good as the 100%, but okay, how often we hit the 100%? So hitting the 80% is great. Let us do like that. You deprive your marketing about from the 20%, which makes the difference. The real difference happens by that 20%.
Mm.
But if you use that 80% of script quality instead as something that you are happy, as your starting point, and you start, instead of working from 0 to reach to 100, you are working from 80% to reach 100, most probably you will have some people which will hit 110. So that's what we need. That's how we need to see AI, not as something that is doing what we are already doing almost as good as we are doing it,
Hmm.
but as something that can propel us to continue doing the things that we are doing exponentially better. If we see it like that,
Yeah.
then the future will be bright for all of us. If we fall to the trap of mediocrity, start, worshipping mediocrity simply because we have much of it, then we will fail.
It's funny. There's a legend about a creative director here in the Netherlands that would fire creative teams by not caring about the last 5% of a project. So they would be almost there. And you mentioned the 80-20. I guess in that case, it was the 95-5. But he said that's when you make the difference. That's
Yeah.
when you're going to basically get something that people in the real world will care about. So I love that perspective. I'd love to zoom out a little bit again and also view at a wider perspective that this book offers on technology and how technology changes are essentially driven by demand. Everyone wants and needs benefits of technology, and that's why technologies can grow. That's what happens with the combustion engine. There's a passage in the book that it reminded me. This passage in the book, it reminded me of your paper on the shift from image to impact, and how brands must take action when people lost trust in their governments.
Mm.
The author talks about how it's not only governments but also companies that must change. Is there also a growing demand from our client, you think, for these AI driven solutions that you've noticed from like a more holistic perspective?
Yeah, I think there is a huge demand. I will say, of course, that we are still on the top of the hype about AI. So many conversations, less action. We need to pass from hype to impact. We need to start using AI in order to understand its true potential, not simply talking about AI.
Hmm.
Also, we cannot wait, I believe, for AI to slow down its rate of progress. This will not happen. So we need to be able to approach AI with agility and flexibility, learn from what we can learn right now, and be ready for the future. This technology is not going to wait for us. So I'm hearing people saying, let's see where things are going and I will engage with it when things are stable. I don't believe that it will remain stable.
Yeah.
I believe that the rate is exponential. I believe that we soon gonna have gaps between people who are embracing AI and people and companies who are not embracing AI. That those gaps we will not be able to be bridged. So I believe that the time is now.
Yeah.
And you don't need, and I'm speaking that from my own experience. The other thing that we are trying to do is we are trying to tame, to use our previous, to tame the technology with the whip. No, this technology is so big that if you try to tame it with a whip, it will come and eat you. You need to tame the technology by petting it.
Hmm.
What I mean by that, accustom yourself, use smaller use cases, uh, make AI part of your marketing process. Don't try to create right now. It's very difficult to create enterprise systems that are working end to end with AI. That's maybe a very big thing to fat home. But if you start working with it, if you start creating use cases, you suddenly get closer to the technology. And when you are close to it, then you will be able to utilize it.
Your analogy about petting it instead of whipping it, it reminded me of how the author also says we shouldn't try to ride or even stop the wave, but we should try to sculpt it.
Exactly.
And I guess,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's exactly the same. You cannot stop it. You cannot ride it. You cannot control it. The wave is a tsunami. You cannot control it. You can swim along with it. You can surf the wave.
Hmm.
So, to use the book's analogy, the coming wave is coming. It's going to be big. You need to not get swallowed by it. You cannot ride it. You cannot stop it, but you can swim along it. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's why I introduced this book to your audience, because I believe it will help them get a more balanced approach about the pros and cons of AI and start emerging in a journey to learn more about it.
As we're coming towards the end of our discussion, do you have any last thoughts that you would like to share about the coming AI wave?
The joke that I'm saying, I don't know if you have heard it before, is two people are being chased by a lion. The lion is AI.
Yeah.
And as they run, one of them stops and starts putting on his sneakers. And the other look at him and says, "Are you crazy? Do you believe that you will outrun the lion?" And the guy looks at him and says, "No, but I can outrun you."
Yeah, brilliant. Antonis, thanks so much. I think
Thank
this
you.
was a super enlightening conversation.
Well, I would like to thank you for inviting me. Every time that we have those conversations around books, it's something that I enjoy enormously. I continue my reading around AI and around other things, and hopefully we will have sooner than later the chance to discuss again about a brilliant book and the impact that it has. Thank you.
That was Antonis Kocheilas, Ogilvy's Global Chief Transformation Officer, about the book The Coming Wave by Mustafa Suleyman. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. But if you do want more insights, ideas, and inspiration about the book, go to globalreadingclub.com to study the mind map, summary, and axis for impact, which will allow you to apply these learnings in real-life situations. This podcast has been developed by the Global Reading Club.